It's time for the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. It is time for another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Weekly breakdown of District 1 and 2 happenings in the great state of Idaho. Brandon Baney joined by our North Idaho resident and expert, Ryan Scaggs. What up, Scaggs?
I didn't have my weekly intro drink because I'm drinking the Sandpoint Girls Kool-Aid right now.
Oh, wow. Drinking the Kool-Aid. I like that. That's good. Yeah, so a couple of different ways you can watch this or listen to this Prepcast each and every week. You, of course, can check out the video version of this live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. That's right. We're trying something new here. We're going to try and go live. And so if you're hanging out and you're looking to kill some time and you want to check in with what's going on in North Idaho athletics, we are live. If you want to ask a question, send a comment, we'll take it. we'll gladly
get more live experience than what we got last week.
That is true, where we had all sorts of problems. My doorbell was ringing, and I figured today I'd wait until all my appointments were done before we actually, hopped on to do this. So you can, of course, watch the video version of this. You can also listen at IdahoSports.com. Across the top of the homepage, there's a little tab that says Prepcasts with a drop-down menu. You select North Idaho Prepcast, and you can listen there. Also, wherever you download podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, etc., you can just subscribe to the North Idaho Prepcast, and then it just automatically gets downloaded every time we do a new show. So, all right, Ryan, let's get into it. Before we do, I got a comment on your attire. That jacket / hoodie / whatever that is you're wearing looks very comfortable.
Dude, it's on sale right now at Costco too for like $9. So yeah, just FYI, it's super comfortable.
Okay, explain the mechanisms to me. You've got a couple of really fancy pull strings and then a zipper on top. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a full zip hoodie, right? Like it's the normal hoodie, but it's got like the super soft lining inside of it too. I mean, that's
okay.
Yeah, like for $9, come on. I'm a bargain shopper, but I love Costco. I get everything at Costco. But.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, here we have a comment, Ryan.
Yeah.
From Pierce Bradshaw. Pocatello is very windy right now, Brandon. Yeah. Up here where I live now, I used to live in Pocatello, of course. Now I live in Coeur d'Alene, just like Ryan does. It's been raining here. Like
it's soggy.
Yeah. Very soggy. Yeah. So as I always say, anytime we can talk about the weather, I mean, that means the show's off to a great start. You know who's gotten off to a great start? The Sandpoint girls basketball team. You talked about drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. What a gargantuan matchup we had just 2 nights ago. Coeur d'Alene, the defending 5A state champions, versus Sandpoint, the defending 4A state champions. You knew this game was going to be important because it counts for the Inland Empire League standings. This was a quote-unquote conference game for the combined IEL, but also just in terms of bragging rights for the region and sizing up where your team is at. Sandpoint gets the win on their home floor, 53-49. What an impressive start. The Bulldogs are now 4-0.
Coach Love does such an amazing job, and we talk about all the coaches in the state and what they're able to do. I think he's probably, in my mind, like one of the best. Like, I mean, he's just a phenomenal coach, a great person. We give him a lot of love on this Prepcast, but I mean, the rich got richer. I mean, they brought in a freshman that's in the lineup now, and she's putting in double digits. They've got Chloe Laybourne down low that's able to pull down on double-digit boards. I mean, like they're getting some production out of that lineup with already some star-studded cast that was there. This group is for real. I mean, I look at it and it's like, I raised the question on X the other day. It was like, hey, is this like the makings of a team that's going to repeat? I mean, you look at it and what they're able to do. I mean, I know that 4A is going to be a little tougher this year, but like that's a cast that is, I mean, you look at it coming out of the gate 4 games in and they're beating the defending 5A state champ that's got a win in their pocket, over a couple big teams in 5A. Like that's a huge statement. They're going to go down to East Idaho, I think, this weekend and play in a big tournament down at Skyline. And so, that's going to be a big test for that Bulldog team to really know where they're at. They're going to play some 5A teams. They're going to play some 4A teams. But the start that they're off to and looking where they've continued through the end of last year, I mean, look out.
Definitely. So Sandpoint and Lakeland, both girls basketball teams, are going down to the East Idaho Holiday Shootout. It's at the end of the month, December 29th, 30th, at various locations. Skyline, Idaho Falls, Rigby, and Bonneville are all hosting games. It is a big tournament. The brackets can get a little tricky, so just stay tuned to IdahoSports.com for all the info there. But this Sandpoint team, they bring back Carly Banks, they bring back Aaliyah Strock, who I think really is the straw that stirs the drink. She is the point guard. All 5 players can bring the ball up. It's a very unique offense where it's basically 5 in, 5 out, and it's positionless basketball, and there's not really set plays. It's all about read and react from the defense. It's very tough to defend, but defensively is where Sandpoint really makes their bones, and it's Strock leading the charge out front. That freshman you mentioned, Jordan Tomko, she comes in off the bench, scores 10 points, and when she came in the second half, Sandpoint was trailing 44-42. She comes in, hits a big shot. Sandpoint gets a little momentum rolling, and then down the stretch, I mean, they outscore Coeur d'Alene 9-5, over that final, couple of minutes to pull out the win. So it was a very impressive performance all around. On the other side now, Coeur d'Alene's 5-2, and everyone's going to go, oh, yeah, see, told you they're not as good as they were last year. This is a new team. They're incorporating new players. They do have a couple of returners, of course, but just like any team that's starting out with a mix of new players, I mean, it's not going to be a perfect season along the way. Coeur d'Alene, just fine.
Yeah, no, I look at Coeur d'Alene. They're gonna be just fine. I kind of equate it to like how we see with some of the bigger like Division I teams that you'll see, go and make a huge run, maybe a deep Final Four run or something like that, and then they'll have to figure out the identity the next year after some players leave. I mean, you have a D1 player that graduated last year in Maddie Simmons, and so now you have to replace that piece, but you have Tegan and her sister, the Colvins, trying to figure things out with their identity, and Maddie Mitchell in the mix as well. And there's pieces there. That team's going to be just fine. But I think night to night, you look at the team affair. That's just some pains of growing a little bit, and that's I think the thing that shows the IEL is tough. I mean, it's a tough conference. You look at what Lake City's doing, you look at what historically Post Falls had done, and you got Lakeland in the mix in 4A too. That there's no easy nights necessarily up north, and this is going to be an interesting. I think it's going to be a good test for them too as things go later in the season.
Yeah, Maddie Mitchell, very underrated, very important piece. You mentioned they lose Maddie Simmons, one D1 player. They bring in Brooksley Colvin. That's Tegan's younger sister. She's a freshman. She's already got like 12 D1 offers. And I think obviously they miss Maddie Simmons, right? You could pretty much take it to the bank, a double-double almost every night out. But I think they're also missing a little bit from last year, Kendall Omlin and Libby Auberry, who were great role players and could knock down a shot from the perimeter when their number was called. Yeah. And I think they're still trying to figure out, okay, who is our perimeter threat? Who is that player that's going to keep defenses honest? Because right now, a lot of the focus is on Maddie Mitchell and Tegan Colvin, and can some of those other players grow into their roles?
Yeah. And Coach Simmons does a great job. She's going to figure that out, and they're going to be just fine. I think, like everybody freaked out after they, took a big loss down in Boise, and then they're like, oh, they lose to Sandpoint. I'm like, man, Sandpoint's as good as any 5A team in the state too. So like, let's pump the brakes a little bit and just look at what things are going on in North Idaho and take it all in. That, yeah, surprise, surprise, basketball's really good up here in District 1 and District 2. So yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, not Timberlake. Well, Timberlake obviously is very talented also. Lake City the same night was playing Moscow. 81-37 win for Lake City. They're continuing to roll right along. They had a freshman, Macy Murphy. I don't know if you saw this, Scaggs. She hit 6 of 12 3-pointers. So as a team, Lake City made 12 3-pointers. She made 6 of them on her own. She scored 18 points. all from the 3-point arc.
Yeah, that'll help the average a little bit, but I mean that certainly doesn't hurt matters much. But you're able to shoot like that, especially production from an underclassman. That's like getting free money. Like you double that bet when you go to the it's like hitting the bonus on the slot machine there. So no, yeah, I mean I look at Lake City and Coeur d'Alene. They're definitely the favorites up in the north in the 5A. They're both teams I could see making the state tournament and making noise. Lake City's kind of unsung. I think that leadership is definitely what's going to carry them through the season too. That's unsung. There's a lot to say about that core group that's been playing since they were, like we saw with their varsity boys team last year. That group starts as freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and they work their way through. And that nucleus is still there with that senior core at Lake City. They're a team to be reckoned with. They really are.
Yeah, so what I've got my eye on coming up for both Coeur d'Alene and Lake City is, of course, the annual Tarkanian Classic in Las Vegas right before Christmas. It'll be in 2 weeks, where they, it's named after Jerry Tarkanian, the legendary UNLV men's basketball coach, who his big thing was he would get nervous and he would chew on these towels. Do you remember this, Ryan? Do you remember watching this guy in the 90s during March Madness? He'd have a manager take the towel and soak it in water, and instead of drinking water throughout the game, because then he would have to go use the restroom, he would just bite down on that towel and absorb a little bit of water from the odd duck, but man, he could coach for sure.
No, he was able to get some things going down in the desert down at UNLV for sure.
Yeah. So check this out. You've got Coeur d'Alene and Rigby and Columbia all going down to the Tarkanian Classic from Idaho. They're all in the same bracket.
Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of a question mark. Like, you go down there to avoid teams in your own state, and here you draw 2 of them.
I will say selfishly, I kind of want to see Coeur d'Alene play Rigby, though, because Rigby's 7-0. They just beat Owyhee, which beat Rocky Mountain, which beat Lake City, which, so doing the little circle of who beat who, you could say Rigby's the number 1 team. I would love to see Rigby play Coeur d'Alene in Las Vegas. I would prefer the championship, but if it's on the other side of the bracket, I'm good either way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, like, you're like, man, we could have saved a couple grand by scrapping that trip and maybe playing that neutral site somewhere in Idaho, but that's the way it works, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, we're definitely keeping an eye on those teams as they go compete. Holiday tournaments are coming up here over the next several weeks, including this weekend, Ryan. It's the annual Silver Valley tournament. On the girls' side, now they had the boys' tournament last week at Kellogg. The girls' tournament will be this weekend at Wallace. Little 4-team affair on both sides. Before we recap the boys' results, I'll just tell you, what the schedule looks like here at the Silver Valley tournament. For Wallace is going to be there. Kellogg will be there. Lakeside is going to be there. And I believe Coeur de Christ is the other school that's competing. That's who it was on the boys' side. And so I like Wallace to kind of move on. I'd be interested to see them play Lakeside early in a conference, non-conference game. But I think Kellogg also is very strong. So.
Yeah, I think, you could realistically see Kellogg Wallace, little Silver Valley battle there being probably the game of the tournament. But that's not to slight Lakeside at all. I think that team's going to be a problem in the conference too. So, and then another team to keep an eye out for, like if we're going to talk 1A D1 North, I know like Genesis Prep is kind of sneaking in there too. So, there's a good mix of teams there up north that, could make things interesting in girls basketball, but that should be a good little event there in Wallace. And I don't know if you've ever been to the gym at Wallace. That's a really cool venue. It really is like it's a super little bright spot, like super nice older building there in town. It's super cool.
Yeah. So the 4th team is not Coeur de Christ. I got that wrong. It's Rogers High from Washington.
From Spokane.
Yeah. Coming over to play. So that's who
go
Wallace
look at the box. Yeah. Go look at the box scores for Rogers. I don't want to poo-poo on a team at all, but there's some W's hanging out there. So,
and you've alienated our neighbors to the west.
Washington's, forget them. They don't care about this Prepcast.
Washingtonians. Real quickly, Kellogg and Wallace did play already earlier this week. Kellogg won 61-43. So the Wildcats are going to be right there in the mix in the 2A CIL this year. Also, Coach Jana Nearing does a fantastic job every year with those ladies. You were talking about the Wallace gym. Somebody told me, I believe it was Brian Hall, one of our great IdahoSports.com broadcasters and also the girls basketball coach at Post Falls. He told me the movie Dante's Inferno or Dante's Peak. Dante's Dante's Inferno is a different,
totally different movie.
Ball of wax. Yeah, that's. We don't have, This week's book of the month is Dante's Peak was filmed in Wallace, and the gym was used for one of the big scenes where they're all gathering.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen that movie. I gotta watch it and check it out.
Yeah, because then you can watch the town of Wallace get absolutely leveled by a volcano. Yeah.
I wouldn't wish that in real life, but in terms of cinematography,
but you get to watch it's like, oh, you recognize places in that movie when you watch it again. It's actually kind of cool. Same with Smoke Signals too. It was filmed here in North Idaho as well.
Okay. I got some movies I got to watch this weekend. Yeah. I'll report back. Okay. So Wallace is hosting the girls' side. Kellogg hosted the boys' side last week. I know you're going to be shocked to hear this, but Lakeside went over and competed pretty well. They ended up getting to the finals and facing off against Wallace. And so Lakeside off to a great start once again here under Coach James Two Teeth. Yeah.
You there? No, sorry. He froze for a second on my end. So.
Oh, I was like, I said all that great stuff, and you just went, yeah. And I'm like,
no, it froze up. You're like on my end. I don't know. You're free, and then you were like, then I heard Two Teeth.
Gotcha.
So yeah, no, I mean, Lakeside's going to be a team. They're going to be fine. I mean, obviously they have to replace, some major firepower in their lineup that they had last year, but as a team, and we saw them play really well a few times last year without, having, their star in their lineup, and they did just fine. And I think that as a group, like collectively, especially in the state tournament, they played insanely well. Like some of the cast players that are around there, like Hendricks and other guys in that group, like there's some dudes that can flat shoot. So, Lakeside's going to be another team to keep an eye on. I think that they could definitely place at state again this year. I don't know if they're going to be the state title favorite or not, but definitely a team that's going to be, in my opinion, one of the top 4 teams in North Idaho.
Yeah, so Lakeside wins the Silver Valley tournament. They beat Wallace 82-26, and then Kellogg in the championship 57-27. The Knights are 3-0, off to a great start. Early stats: Tyson Charlie, the sophomore, leading the way, 17.3 points per game. Liam Hendricks 11.3. Brutus Saijan 11.0. They've got a kid that missed last year but played as a sophomore, Josh Key. He's actually, that kid can hoop too. He's averaging 9.3. Quincy Hall 7.7. Blaze Callahan 7.0. So that's 7 players averaging 7 points or more per contest. 4 of the 5 starters are back from last year. Really, the only guy they lost was Vander Brown, and I don't mean to dismiss that as because it's a significant loss, but at the same time, everybody else is back. I really like this Lakeside team.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a cohesive unit, I mean, that's a group that as a complete team, they're there. I mean, they check all the boxes defensively. They play really tough. They guard the perimeter really well. They play unselfish basketball on the offensive end. They spread it around. That's a team that, like I said, they're going to make a lot of noise. They're going to give people a ton of headaches this year in 181.
A little later on this month, they're going to Washington to play in a tournament. This is where I'm going to tap into your Washington expertise. It's in Wellpinit.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that going to be good competition for them?
Yeah. There's going to be a couple teams in northeastern Washington that are historically really good. Yeah. Like you get teams like if Cusic's there, that's a pretty good program. So that's going to be a good test for Lakeside if they're going to play in that tournament.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote the season preview for the 1AD1 Scenic Idaho Conference. By the way, all of our boys basketball previews are live and up on the site at IdahoSports.com, along with all of our preseason coaches polls for every conference across the state of Idaho. Big undertaking, and we're glad that we're able to get that live finalists. You should check it all out at IdahoSports.com. But I wrote in the preview basically Coach Two Teeth said this. Vander Brown was the leader of our team. Although at times last year, Vander was in foul trouble and this group played very well without him. So I think we will be fine. Yeah, I think he's understating it a little
An
bit.
oversimplification, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. Yeah, duh. I think it's going to be more than fine.
We'll be okay.
Yeah. So
undersell of the century right there, but yeah.
Yeah, might be burying the plot just a little there with Lakeside, but
he doesn't want to give the opponent too much. So there you go. Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, of course, Lakeside beat Lapwai for the championship last year. Lapwai wants to atone for that. They bring back a lot of solid dudes. Kase Wynott, Elias Yearout, Chris Bonney, Joseph Payne was the sixth man last year. He's going to slide into that starting five. I mean, you can't have a better start to the season than Kase Wynott had for Lapwai. He came in just a couple of points shy of 2,000 for his career. He crosses that barrier, and we'll kind of keep an eye on it all year. But the record for most points in a basketball career is believed to be one of the Mercers from Kamei back in the day. But we'll keep an eye on that as the season progresses.
Yeah, I realistically could see that falling this year. Absolutely. I mean, barring something catastrophic, Kase is playing like a man possessed, that, he wants to finish on a high note. I know that there's a lot of unfinished business and losing in that state championship game last year. And I talked to his dad in the off season, and then his dad messaged me a couple weeks ago. He's just like, I've never seen him work this hard. And, he signed with Utah State in the off season. So he comes in with his offer signed. He's going to be an Aggie next year, which is a great fit for him personally. I think that's going to be a really good spot for him. But, why not get the scoring record in the state of Idaho on your way out the door? And I think it's within reach. So, I expect Kase to probably get there, and he's off to a crazy start right now. And he's just a really, really humble, hardworking kid too. So it couldn't really happen to a better kid. I think he deserves everything that he gets coming for him. And I say that in the best way possible.
Yes. And he is just an exceptional young man also.
Absolutely.
Polite, respectful, just the epitome of what you would want as a leader of your team. So Kase came into the season. We got this from Coach Zach Eastman, the head coach, 1,991 points coming into the season. Then in the season opener, which Lapwai won over Orofino 87-44, he ends up scoring. I got to make sure I get this right. He ends up scoring 48 points. I didn't want to shortchange him and say 50. 48 points. That's not even the most incredible part. He had a triple double, which is, we're used to seeing that, but 48 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, and now he's crossed that 2,000 point barrier too.
I mean, he's got handles. That's the thing that I think the part of his game that gets overlooked the most by other people is how well he's a point forward, and he can distribute, but he plays anywhere on the floor. He's a matchup nightmare, but we're going to see he could, realistically, could we see somebody average a triple double for the season? Because that's definitely not out of the question for Kase this year in high school basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch this team as the season progresses. The all-time scoring record, as we mentioned, is Jared Mercer from Kamei, 2,536 points.
He could get there, by late January.
I mean, after that first game, he's now up to 2,039 in his career. And I haven't even calculated Lapwai's other games.
He could be there by the end of Christmas break. I mean, realistically.
I mean, seriously. So Lapwai also just beat Prairie Tuesday night, 61-34. And I'll have to look up, what his point totals were there. But, you're talking about realistically, let's just say after the first game, 2,039 points. And 25-36 is the career mark. I mean, you're looking at a difference of 497 points. If you divide that out, even over 15 games, 33 points per game.
That's below his average last year.
Yeah. I mean, he just scored 48. So
well, I think didn't he average like 36 last year? So, I mean, that's not out of the question by any means.
Yeah. Jared Mercer set that record all the way back in 1993. How about that? That's a
Going
record
well
that's
on the stats there.
And you know what? The guy that had the record before Mercer broke it was also a North Idaho guy, Kyle Wombold, who played at Kellogg and Coeur d'Alene from 1982 to 85.
There we go.
North Idaho's got it, man.
All roads lead to North Idaho, right?
That's right, for sure. Okay, let's wrap up with a couple of. Look at this, Jeremiah. He had 45 against Prairie. So there you go.
Thanks, Jeremiah. That coach.
48.
There you go. He's always coming in the clutch for us.
Jeremiah, assistant coach there at Lapwai, of course. Hey, thanks for chiming in, Jeremiah. We appreciate it. And again, we are live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. If you've got a comment, question, shout out, throw it in. We'll throw it up on the screen. But yeah, obviously we'll keep an eye on Lapwai as the season progresses. Next up for the Wildcats, a Monday night battle with Clearwater Valley next Monday. Rams are down a little bit this year. And so really what I'm looking forward to with Lapwai is the Pro Image Sports Holiday Classic taking place in Hawaii. Yeah. They've got a large school bracket and a small school bracket. Ambrose is in that small school bracket. They're going to play Ambrose right away, a really good 2A program. But other teams that are there, Baker Bulldogs from Oregon. We remember Lapwai beat them last year on a shot at the very end. Baker just won the Capital Classic that Post Falls and Lewiston were competing at. You know, they beat a bunch of 5A schools on their way to the title there. There's really good Idaho programs like Homedale and West Side in there. So I'm really excited to see how Lapwai does.
That's going to be a fun one. And then you throw in the Avista Holiday Tournament in Lewiston too. Going back to back on those two tournaments. That's a nice stretch for the Wildcats to get their early season tests in, because that Avista tournament's got a nice little lineup too that I think's kind of gone under the radar.
Dude, I was looking at those brackets, man. So Lapwai opens with Downey, California. In the opener. You know, Rocky Mountain is coming up to play in the Avista this year because their coach is a former Lapwai player, Ivory Williams. So that's the connection there. How about the first round matchup between Kendrick and Lewiston?
Right? I mean, like, stop talking about like that's a nice little tournament that they've put together with. I know that Lewiston and Clarkson worked together in setting that thing up, and shout out Shannon Wilson if he's out there listening. But I mean, that's a nice little event. It's in a phenomenal venue. I think LCSC does a great job hosting that tournament, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing both events. The Pro Image Classic down there at Hawaii, but also the Avista tournament's going to be great. There's going to be some awesome matchups in that tournament.
Yeah, that's coming up at the end of the month for sure. So a lot of good basketball. Kendrick did beat St. Mary's as well, last week, and that was a big win for the Tigers, who are loaded for bear. And of course, the Kendrick girls are getting ready to fly to Alaska too, Scaggs, for that big Sitka tournament up there in Alaska. So
I wonder if we get a discount if they bring us back some salmon or something like that. Maybe give them a few extra shout outs.
Of course, you're looking for fresh seafood.
Fresh seafood. Yeah. Throw some crab in, we're good.
Oh man, that's funny. That's good stuff.
We do a lot for you guys, and I'm just saying, like,
you're gonna open your stocking at Christmas, and there's gonna be some good good sockeye salmon in there.
I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure.
Coal, one or the other.
Right. Lump of coal. Okay, before we get out of here, let's talk real quick about cross country. Nike Cross Nationals were last week in Portland. Coeur d'Alene came in as the Northwest Regional Champions, first boys team ever to win a regional title, and they finished 11th overall, which is incredible considering this was nationals.
Yeah. I mean, your top program, top echelon teams in the country were there, and to take in 11th, like that's outstanding. I mean, that just is an absolute testament to how hard that group works. But there's a lot that goes in, from coaching to parents to everything else, and like that's a whole. You talk about team, like that's a collective community behind that program, and to get that 11th place finish at nationals, I mean, that's kind of flying under the radar is like one of the outstanding feats that we've seen in the last few years. in athletics in the state of Idaho. Like, that's an awesome, awesome job.
Yeah, that's just incredible. So way to go, Coeur d'Alene boys, cross country. Wrestling has started up as well, Ryan. We've brought back our Mat Chat Prepcast, our standalone wrestling podcast we do every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account, as well as the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page. Also, we went for about an hour on Tuesday night, Scaggs. A lot of shout outs from the Post Falls Trojans, of course, Lewiston wrestlers also. And so we love doing that show live for the wrestling fans. Post Falls, hey, spoiler alert, they're going to be really good again.
You think? Yeah, they went to Sydney, Montana, and absolutely put on a clinic. Winning the team affair and also winning the tournament, the individual tournament too. So like that, yeah, that group is loaded. That Trojan team, and Coach Reardon does such an amazing job. So if he's listening, we're giving him a shout out because he's done such a great job with that program. And that starts from the ground up. I mean, you're looking at the little guy teams all the way through. Post Falls has just been absolutely unstoppable for a long time. And, there's a reason they finish in the top 3 at state year in and year out for what seems like the last decade and a half. That they just do a phenomenal job over there. And they're not done yet. Like that group is absolutely loaded. Here's our good friend HA. He's a Hoyt. Yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah. Scaggs
Hoyt was a senior when I was a freshman in high school. So if I'm not mistaken, and his wife was also a Clarkston grad. So yeah,
wow.
Shout out.
Yeah. Scaggs is dying to talk wrestling. Yes. And then
thank you. Yeah.
He agrees. Post Falls is deep, coaching always on point from the ground up. So yeah, it's going to be another great season.
And his kid is a stud too. So let's not slight guys out there. Cause
yes.
Yeah. You talk about, hammers around the Northwest, like there's a few of them walking the halls in high schools in District 1 and District 2. That's for dang sure.
I got accused. We made our official championship predictions, Al Fontes, Brian Zollinger, and myself. And I got accused of, I picked Post Falls to win the 5A title. The other guys picked Meridian. And I said, I live in North Idaho now. I got to carry the flag for North Idaho. I got accused of trying to suck up to Post Falls.
Being a homer. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at it numbers wise, that's that 1-2. I mean, we saw it last year come down, to the blood rounds, but that's not an unrealistic pick by any means. I think it's just the numbers on who's going to get in out of districts, but who's going to be the most impressive team so far early on is Post Falls is just absolutely rolling right now. So see if they can keep it going through Tri-State because that's coming up. And that's going to be another nice early test.
Yeah, a lot of people are going over to Washington for a big competition this weekend, and I'm struggling to remember where it's at.
The Inland Empire? I think that one's over at Central Valley, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's not that one. It's maybe Hoyt can tell us. I know everybody.
Yeah, Hoyt, let us know because I know that one's coming up. Inland Empire is coming up too, but
there's one in Washington that's going on this weekend. So Toppenish.
There it
is. Yes. A lot of teams are going over.
About programs, that's another one. Holy cow! Yeah, that Toppenish team is super good.
Yeah, a lot of teams going over there this weekend. So we'll have plenty to dissect next week on the Prepcast. Ryan, I will tell everybody that in place of our normal Prepcasts next week, North Idaho, Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, East Idaho, we're going to do an IdahoSports.com special Prepcast. Any idea what we're going to talk about, Ryan?
Classifications. I don't know. Like
everybody's favorite topic, max preps. We're going to do. Yeah.
We're gluttons for punishment, man.
Well, it's needed. The timing is appropriate because
absolutely.
The IHSAA just held their December board meeting earlier this week, and things got, I don't know if contentious is the right word, but there was some stances taken regarding max preps.
We got to draw the line in the sand somewhere, and that's for the Prepcast next week. But I got feelings for that one. Holy cow!
Yeah, so we're bringing in all the heavy hitters. We're gonna, I'm just gonna kind of facilitate the discussion. But Paul Kingsbury, our boss, owner operator of IdahoSports.com, will be there. Scott Burton, who is an athletic director at Jerome High School. He'll be on to kind of give us the AD point of view on it. Logan Green will be there as well. So we're not sure which night we're going to do that yet. We still got to figure it out, but stay tuned. Max Preps special next week on IdahoSports.com, which means you and I will be back in 2 weeks right before Christmas. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I'm game with that. Maybe I'll try to sneak in the comment section on the wrestling Prepcast next week. So on the Matt chat,
you know the invitation.
I'll stir the pot a little bit and get people worked up, and then walk out the door.
Anytime you want to come on, the door is open. You are always welcome on the show, Ryan. I know you're busy on school nights and stuff like that, but
might be able to swing that as we get closer to Christmas break for sure.
Yeah, but you can at least come in and snipe from the comment section.
Yeah, I'll just take pot shots and then walk away, and I don't have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, that sounds, man, what a world that would be. So, yes, we got a lot of fun stuff going on at IdahoSports.com. The wrestling rankings will be coming back next week. Yep. Our big season preview for wrestling. Al Fontes is diving into all the data. That'll be up on the site next week as well. So wrestling fans, stay tuned for that. And otherwise, all the basketball stuff already up on the website, off and running at IdahoSports.com. All right. Hey, big thanks to Pierce and Jeremiah and Hoyt and everybody else that tuned in and contributed to the conversation today. Ryan, as always, thanks for hopping on as well.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me on. And, as every week, until next week, or 2 weeks from now, I should say. But yeah, I just keep the conversation going. I think there's a lot going on and a lot to be recognized with these kids right now in North Idaho. They're doing a phenomenal job. And that's all sports. I mean, all winter sports are pretty dominant right now, and things are looking good and only getting better. So we got a lot to talk about in 2 weeks because there's a lot of stuff between now and then. So yeah,
no doubt. Yep. So yeah, everybody that's tuning in, if you could just hit that like button on the way out, that'll help other people find this a little easier amongst all the doom scrolling that everybody's doing on social media. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the competition this weekend, and we will see you next time on the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.